Hi, everyone. I'm happy to talk to you today about Fusion Analytics Warehouse. What is it? It is a rather new product in the Oracle realm, if you will. It's gone by a few different names so far. We'll get into those in a little bit so you know exactly what we're talking about and what's to come. So my name is Sarah Zumbrum. I am a Principal Cloud Architect on the Analytics and Data Warehousing team at Oracle. And happy to be talking to you today. So if you were able to join a couple weeks ago, I talked about the Oracle Analytics Cloud and some pieces on that. But today I wanted to go into the Fusion Analytics Warehouse. It has been known as Oracle Analytics for Applications, or OAX, but now they seem to have solidified on the name Fusion Analytics Warehouse because there are quite a few pieces involved. So looking forward to talking to you about this today, and let's go ahead and dive in. So I have to throw out the safe harbor statement because I will be talking about some roadmaps or some upcoming items that will be released later. So just in case it doesn't happen, safe harbor is out there. We're doing our best, but it is what it is, right? So the impetus behind Fusion Analytics Warehouse, if you could think back, actually really started with BI apps. So if anybody had BI applications on premises, this is really that next generation where you have some pre-built content to work with C-level executives or work with analysts or work with you name it. So if you think about one tool where everybody can access it and get the data they need, whether it be at the high level or low level, or if you're drilling into details or you're looking different places, that everyone can look and see one version of the truth. And that's really the strategy behind the Fusion Analytics Warehouse, just like it was with BI apps on premises, where you have, doesn't matter who's accessing it, they're going to be able to get the details they need to do their job with accuracy. So the value proposition is you're already doing the data, you're already doing the details and working in your either human capital management or Fusion ERP instance, but you want to do more analysis than what is available in the tool. So the tools already have HCM, Fusion HCM and Fusion ERP already have OTBI built in, Oracle Transactional BI built in. And really what that's going to do is to tell you where you are right now or what is the details right now. But it doesn't really help you with historical or trending or anything like that. Or if you wanted to do some machine learning or advanced analytics built in, it doesn't really have that capability, or even the ability to maybe take in other data sources and combine it with your HCM and ERP to give a bigger picture or more details as to what's going on. What this allows you to do is, instead of spending weeks, months, years implementing a business intelligence solution to analyze the KPIs, how are we trending and how are we doing, it has pre-built content for you. So you're going to be up and running in weeks instead of months or years, and it's going to cost considerably less. The time, like I said, is up and running in weeks. I've worked with customers in the past, and we're talking 6 to 8 weeks time to build out, versus the months to try to figure out, okay, what does each group need? What kind of data and reports do they want? How do we want to build this out? How do we want it to look? This already has those details built in. And the reality is that these are built around end user being able to do everything for themselves. So you no longer need IT to build out these massive subject areas or very detailed data XYZ. It's meant for the end user to be up and running and be able to build in all of their pieces. So if you look at what the continuum may be, if you will, for analytics with HCM, with Fusion applications, you're going to see that, like I was saying earlier, you wanted everybody from the managers to the executives, the analysts, everybody in between, whether you are truly trying to run the business or analyze the business, to having direction, providing direction going forward. There are different, depending on your level, there are different items you need. Some people need daily data, and some people just want to look at, okay, where are we at the month? Where have we been in the past? Where are we going, and how do we get there? Are we on the right track or not? And the solutions, and honestly, the source data that allow you to make these decisions, whether you're a CHRO or maybe you're a CIO or you're a CFO, whatever you may be, your true data and how you're looking at your data and entering it in is truly going to be at the Fusion applications level. So currently we have Fusion Analytics for HCM and ERP. We have some more coming. I'll talk about that. But it allows you to use your source solution as truly the source. You still have one version of the truth. Doesn't matter if you're looking at the data within your Fusion application or even OTBI within that application, But this takes data directly from your system, your source system, so that you can still build predictive analytics on top of it, or maybe you want to combine it with some other data sources to give a bigger picture. That is absolutely available through this. So currently we have HCM and ERP that are available options. So this one is kind of highlighting, excuse me, HCM data, but you can easily substitute ERP for this as well. And like I said, they're coming down the line. So it's roadmaps, or again, safe harbor. So it's roadmap for supply chain management and also for customer experience. So you can see here that there's we're trying to hit on all these SaaS applications because it does have the data model underneath, which allows us to build out these data subject areas and dashboards fairly simply. So what do you get out of the box? We get a whole bunch of pre-built KPIs, and so you don't have to go and configure what is my days sales outstanding. That calculation is already built in. However, if you calculate your DSO differently than company B next to you, you have the ability to alter that to be what you need. There are also built-in dashboards, and you have built-in reports and the ability to dive deeper. So you can see a top number and be able to drill into each KPI and each of the numbers individually to the point where if you want to take it even further and perform self-service analysis, you have that ability as well. You don't have to worry about building out that data model. And honestly, that's usually what takes the most amount of time when doing these type of implementations. If you wanted to start from scratch, that pre-built data model is what you need. And if that's not correct, then nothing else will be correct, right? So again, it's fast because everything's built out for you. You don't have to worry about doing it all yourself. And this includes having a system that connects directly into your Fusion application, and then copying that data over to the autonomous data warehouse. So that's built in underneath. And what that is and why that's important is a data warehouse built directly for analytics. So it memorizes queries so that every time you're querying data, it comes back faster and faster. So it does that automatic indexing. But then also within the analytics cloud, that semantic layer is pre-built for you. So it connects directly to the autonomous data warehouse to provide rapid reporting, and based on data, however, how often you want to copy that data over from the source into ADW, the autonomous data warehouse, you can define that as well. So this can be customized to a certain extent, but it's meant to be right out of the box. But if you wanted to bring in your other sources and build out, say, KPIs or dashboards, et cetera, you have the opportunity to do that. So as I was saying, you can extend this with more data sources. You're not locked into just HCM data or to just ERP data. You can take data from non-Oracle applications or not even, it doesn't even have to be cloud applications for that matter, to be able to combine it together. So I like to highlight this because it's important to highlight what the layout is here. So if you look at on the left-hand side, we're going to look at the Fusion apps, or the brown/red side. You have that's your single source of truth. That's where you're coming from. So what this tool allows you to do, and automatically does for you, is there's a data connector that connects directly to your Fusion applications, and it copies the schemas, the data directly for you into autonomous data warehouse. And then from there, there's the pre-configured semantic model that already knows how to places hooks into the autonomous data warehouse so that you can access your reports, your KPIs, all that right away. Likewise, so if you wanted to add external sources and you wanted to put in custom schemas into that same autonomous data warehouse, you absolutely have the ability to do so. And then if you wanted to take some of that data and present it in dashboards, et cetera, within Fusion Analytics Warehouse, you have that option. Or if you wanted to create if you wanted to add in your own semantic model, you have the opportunity to have an OAC instance directly connected to that same data warehouse. So if you wanted to build out your own content, you could do that as well. So you can see here, so the data can be loaded from anywhere. Doesn't matter, but the crux of why this is important is that you don't have to worry yourself about connecting to the Fusion instance and trying to download data 75,000 rows at a time. You can actually copy it over in bulk or just incremental, whatever you please. So you can have this, if you take the semantic model, like it's saying, you can go across different subject areas. You can it has dimensions and hierarchies built in. However your data is set up, it's going to recognize that. And then you don't have to worry about building anything out. Again, this is geared towards the end user. IT does not need to build this stuff out for you. And then also what's great too is that so this will get updated approximately quarterly. So whenever your Fusion instance gets updated, your Fusion Analytics Warehouse instance will be updated too. So if there's additional subject areas or if there are additional XYZ, your instances will be updated at the exact same time. So they're no longer out of step. Additionally, if there's any additional capabilities or subject areas that are created within a release, you're going to get those automatically added. So you're never going to have items taken away from you from the Fusion Analytics Warehouse. You only have capabilities, additional capabilities given to you with each release, which is, like I said, is approximately every 3 months. So what does it look like? So these are called cards. And so if you think about a dashboard for the KPIs, it's called a deck. And the reason it's called a deck is because it has a whole bunch of these individual cards. So what you're looking at here is an HCM type card. So at the very top, you can see you have the alerts. You can see that red at the top saying, hey, my top talent retention KPI is red. I'm in trouble here. I need to do something, versus green. So immediately you get a visual confirmation that something just isn't right. And so if you're looking at, where am I currently at versus my target? So I can see it's 65%. I'm currently at 65% for top talent retention versus 75% or 77% from my target. Then I can also see quarter over quarter, I'm doing better. So I'm trending in the right direction. I'm just not there yet. And then we have a 9 box to kind of going through this, highlighting exactly where we're at. So, I can see where we're at versus what our target is. And so you get a visualization. And so I can see down here that I have a filter for US East and West. So if I wanted to change that filter right here, I could. There's also the ability for discussion threads. And so if you see something, you're like, hey, this looks a little weird, you can actually have a discussion, and it's going to take a snapshot of what that card looked like at that moment in time with a timestamp. So if somebody else comes in and data is not the same, you can at least see what that card looked like when that person made the comments, and maybe things are better now, or maybe you missed something from 2 months ago. You don't have to worry about, looking at old data and then scrambling when you no longer need to do that. You also have the option to blow this up. I say blow it up, just expand it. So if you want to see more details, I'll be going into a demo in this in a second to show what that means. But then there are also different items. So if you wanted to drill into these numbers with additional visualizations, you could as well. So if we're looking at something that might be along the ERP lines here, we have CapEx. So we can see here, still not doing well on CapEx either. So maybe we need to have a look at all of this. But it's the same kind of detail. But you can see the visualization is different, and this can be customized. There are some that are out of the box that are going to make sense for that specific KPI. But you can choose which ones you want to see. Again, discussion threads are there, which are very popular with finance and accounting professionals, just to have that trail that's going along. So this is an example of a deck. So you can see all the different cards. You can see that top talent retention there. We can see the span of control and hires is good, but analyzed retention is trending down, which is bad. So you have various decks that are built in for you, but you can also build out your own. So if you wanted to have your own deck, the ones that you care about are the items that you are personally responsible for, you can choose just to see those versus everything. And so if we're looking at what are some of the KPIs available out of the box, you can add your own as well. That's not a problem. So for HCM, you can see that everything from workforce turnover, diversity, compensation, performance are built in, with more coming. These are published online. So there's no need to try to memorize or take a screenshot real quick. These are all available online. And then there's also, for ERPs, there's also more than 50. And I actually believe this slide is old, and there are more available here. So you can see everything from a P&L, balance sheet, to some ratios are available out of the box. So you don't have to go wondering, well, which tables or which columns or which XYZ do I need to figure out what my accounts receivable overdue are. These are already built out for you. And like I said, they can be customized so that they can tie to your book of records. And I talked about how you can drill in a little bit deeper. So if you take that same top talent retention card, if we wanted to dig in deeper, we can see here exactly some of the details behind this. where we can look at our forecast, which is the grayed area down at the bottom, who are the exact people, what are their scores, etc. And if I wanted to go into self-service mode in data visualization, it would just be a matter of clicking this edit button, and this would be rebuilt for me so that I could interact with this project or this dashboard, if you will, without having to affect the real numbers, the real dashboard for everybody else. So with that said, let's go ahead and go over to our demo. So let me get out of this. And let me go over to Firefox here. So when you go to your, let me hide these. So when you go to your Fusion Analytics instance, and if you have ERP, or if you have HCM, or if you have both and you want both, you can be taken to a single location. So the first thing you're going to be able to log in. So I have a Oracle SSO login. So wait for this to spin up here. Get a drink of water. The first thing it's going to ask me to do is, do I want to go just to the cards that I've favorited? So just, if you can either favorite the ones that you want to see all the time, or if you just want to go to all your favorite reports, it doesn't matter. So let's click Go to Decks. So right off the bat, we're going to see that we have a whole bunch of different cards laid out for us. I'm going to go ahead and click on My P&L. And what this is going to do, this is going back directly to our data sources and pulling data fresh. So this isn't data from like 17 hours ago or whatever. It's going to be from whatever was last pumped over into the autonomous data warehouse from the Fusion applications. And I'm vague about the actual time that it happened, only because you're going to choose how often you want that data pumped over, is really how it works. So we can see here on My P&L, this is a custom deck that I created, and you can see that I can see my revenue is doing pretty well. However, I am trending down quarter over quarter, but I can also see some other details right away. If I go to, say, workforce sales, let this build out because it's connecting to a different subject area at this point. I'm starting to see some details. So if I look at my top talent retention, well, it looks like I'm actually trending better than what we saw on the card. But I'm going to go ahead and drill into this. You can see I can highlight over and I can get the details right away. So they're not just snapshots, they're actual, you can see the data is live. And so if I wanted to make this bigger, if you will, or maybe look at it a little bit deeper, I can open this card up and I can see a bit more detail. So maybe I want to see the top talent retention as a bar graph versus a 9 chart. Then I can do that. So you can see it's the same exact data, just presented different ways. There's also the opportunity, as I was saying, to have discussion. And I can say the 9 box looks odd, take a look. And what this will do is that anybody who's either been chosen to be notified on changes of this card, or if they've been added to, hey, you need to watch this, then they're going to get a notification that I sent a message. And so it could be private, but I'm going to leave this as public, and I'll say add note. So you can see here what it does. It's going to go ahead and timestamp this for me, so that when I go in, if I'm looking at this, I can come and say, okay, I know exactly when this was done, and I can also have a picture of what it looked like when that was taken. And if I say, oh, never mind, I know what's going on here, or maybe it's an old note, you can always delete, so you don't leave everything on the system as well. So if I come over here, I can see under related links that there's something called top talent retention and team effectiveness analysis. Related to the KPI of top talent retention, these visualizations are built in as well. And so what this is doing is taking that 9 box and basically giving me a whole lot more details behind it. So is there anything going on in the back end that might explain why we're having trouble with top talent retention? So here I can see for the overall org, how are we doing? Looks like D-Meta is doing pretty poorly, right? And so if I wanted to drill into, is the compa ratio low? It looks like his is really low, so that could be why people are leaving. They're not getting paid for what they're worth. Also, his female gender ratio is pretty low as well. So if I want to drill into this a little bit more, I guess that link is already created, so it's going to take me into either further details behind that number. So let me allow pop-ups. So let this reset. And so this is a dashboard, just like if you had OBIEE in the past, or maybe Oracle Analytics Cloud, it's all the same, right? So we can build out dashboards. We can drill into this a little bit more if we wanted to. Looks like I'm having problems with pop-ups today for this, but that's okay. But I could keep drilling in on this if I would like. Let me go ahead and close that out. And then I'll go, if I wanted to, I could also click edit from here. So if I wanted to go into self-service mode, into data visualization with that same effectiveness, I could always do that. Obviously, here's the dashboard. So you can keep drilling in as much as you would like. And so if I want to go over and see maybe some workforce overall standings, again, this is just going to go back live and pull back the data that I have. So I don't have to worry about working with old data or chasing down rats that have already been caught, if you will. I'm going to let this build out just for a little bit because it's going back and collecting a whole lot of data. So you see that same top retention for that workforce sales that was applicable there. But if I were to look at, maybe what's going on with my compa ratio, what's going on here, as you can see here, if I click on the hamburger, I can choose to set this as a favorite. I could have also, click the star to add to favorites. This is for allow notifications. So if any kind of commentary or anything like that, I can go ahead and add that. You can customize this or copy. You can see there's a whole bunch of things that we can do. So if I want to look at turnover by compa ratio, this is going to be that same deep dive, if you will, into what we were looking at earlier. So if I want to look at, let these build out, if all the details behind that bigger number that I was looking at, so now I can see that the average compa ratio is actually really good, and there's any kind of top performer or leavers, what were their compa ratios, what did they look like? So you can see here that that filters were added. So if I wanted to filter it out by just a female, or if I are a user person type, etc., it's going to go directly back to the data source and pull that back dynamically. So if I wanted to look at, say, female, it's going to go back. It's going to update all the visualizations for me, so that they can, so that they'll be updated. And see the average compa ratio went down a little bit when it's female, but that's still 1.01, which is not bad. So for this deck, like I was saying, you can add in filters if you want. So if you want all the cards in your deck to be filtered out by maybe saying a certain time. So you can actually do for current, if you want to do the previous XYZ, you can build that all in. Also, if you want to add a filter, whether this one has time, but if I wanted to build in business unit or location or region, etc., I could build that all in as well. Then again, if I wanted to add my own deck or maybe export some of these, it's just a matter of choosing from the drop down. So a question might be, well, how do I build my KPIs? How is that generated? Well, like I said, there are a lot of the KPIs. There's a whole bunch of KPIs right out of the box. And so those are going to be available for you, but you can also build out your own KPIs as well. And if you have, so you may be asking, okay, well, my ERP or HCM has actual data, but I have budget data. Well, this is where you can bring in data from other sources into, say, ADW or into Oracle Analytics. Because if you have PBCS, you can bring in your PBCS data for your budget data or your target data, and then ERP be your actual data, and you can marry those up so you have one-to-one of what you're evaluating. So if I'm going to look at what's the compa ratio, for example, so I can just click on this KPI, and it's going to give me the details. And like I'm going to keep saying this because it's a recurring theme. This is built for the end user in mind. And so when you were looking at tags or measurements, etc., the only thing we're doing here is just dragging and dropping. So if I'm looking at my time levels, for instance, this doesn't have a month, but if I remove this quarter here just to add it to the quarter, it's just a matter of dragging and dropping. And so if you wanted to look at the compa versus the compa target, and then how do you want to relate those, you can. And also for related groupings, if I want to add a filter, again, this might be business unit or it might be entity or something like that, then you can add the option of adding a filter directly into the KPI. And you can say is good, higher or lower, or etc. These are all, you choose how they want to be set. And this is also where you add. So when we clicked on the retention, top talent retention, it linked to other dashboards, analyses, or or data visualization projects. This is how it's done. So if you have these data visualization projects, or if maybe you've built out an executive dashboard that lists even more details about it, you can just go ahead and add a link. Or maybe you want to add in a URL. So if you say, hey, XYZ is bad, and the reason why is compared to, say, a national target, and this is where the national target is located. So it's pretty easy to build out. This one shows that it's an Excel file, but it easily could have been any other subject area that you have. So these are going to be the pre-built items. So you could have linked it to a subject area. And as far as data sets go, it could be Excel files or CSV files. It could even be a database connection, etc. So you can always go and create these connections, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. And then bring them in. So you're not limited just to HCM. You're not limited just ERP data. You can actually bring in whatever you want. It just so happens that we have the pre-built connections directly to HCM and ERP. So let this go back out just for a second so I can show you what else is in here. So if I wanted to create my own KPI, it'd be a matter of just clicking create and then wait for this to load. It's going to ask me, where do you want this data to come from? So maybe I want it from, we'll go to GL, that's my background. So if I wanted to give it a name, I'll just say Sarah or whatever. If I had any kind of tags, I could do that as well. And then if I want to start adding in a measurement, what number do I want to track? It would just be a matter of coming down here and finding the actual, the detail that I want. So see what I want here. I want to track my revenue. And then if I had any kind of targets built in, I could do that here. So I'm not limited to just one data source. If I want to combine different data sources together, I could. And if I have any other kind of related measures, so maybe I want to break it out by legal entity, I want to say that's part of it. And then I can build out the time levels. It really is just that simple. So you don't need to spend a lot of time trying to figure out, how do I build out a KPI? How do I get it to look how I want it to? You can also, so don't save, go back here to our same home. And so if I come to, say, like my P&L, for example, again, if I wanted to add a card, not necessarily a KPI, but I want to add a new card, it's just simple. I have my P&L here, and I can just click the plus sign. And it's going to say, what do you want to add? And so since it's my P&L, maybe I'll look at cost of revenue. So I'll choose this. I think it needs to keep building out on the back end. There we go. And it's going to ask me, by default, do I want to look at this by ledger name, or maybe balancing segment, or cost center, or how do I want? So I'll choose cost center description. So let all that run in the back end, and then our front will run a little bit faster. So clearly need a little bit more horsepower behind this instance, if it weren't a demo instance, if you will. So it says no data. So maybe we'll go back to the defaults, because maybe they knew what they were talking about anyway. No data found. That's sad. All right, maybe you try current assets. Maybe FTEs. I'll find one eventually. There we go. All right, so now we have the preview of what our data is going to look like. So I could add it as is if I wanted to, or I could go and customize the card to see what I want it to look like. And like I said, this is meant for the end user. If you can pick from a drop-down list, if you can drag and drop, you've got this nailed. So it's going to ask, hey, card name is this. If there's any kind of target that's already been matched up in the system on the back end, it will automatically show up in the target list. If there aren't any, then there's none, right? And so if I want to look at the time, do I want to look at the previous quarter, or the current quarter, or maybe the last 6 months? I could clearly just click from the options, and it's going to run, and it's going to give me the details that I want to look for. And so if I wanted to, to show the change over period, I could do that. I could group it by business name, or maybe I want it by country. I can just choose these very quickly from a drop-down list, and it's going to update my card pretty quickly, right? It's going to go back to the data and show it. So if I scroll down here to more options, if I wanted to add any kind of groups, if I wanted to add, how do I want the legend to look? How do I want the visualization to look? I can change all of this. So I could group it by country. If I change it to job family, clearly the map's going to go away. And also, this is where I can choose to send any kind of status and notifications. So if I wanted to receive a notification, you know, I could go in and say, once I hit 3,000 employees, let me know. Or if there's any kind of filters I want to add, so maybe I want to add a filter by business unit name, then it's going to allow me to choose which ones I want to allow them to select, or none of them. I could click add card and I'd be good to go. So I'm going to hit cancel here. All right. So now let's dig in a little bit deeper. So I'm going to go ahead and do a revenue analysis. So that revenue looked all right, but I still want to know what's going on. Oh, dead end. Hate when that happens. Now let's go over here to data and projects. So if you saw my presentation a couple weeks ago, talked about data visualization, and that is the self-service component of the Oracle Analytics Cloud. We used to have quote unquote only dashboards, as you think about OBIE, executive type dashboards, but now we have data visualization. So if you have any of the, let me go into the workforce. So here are some items that have been built out already. So if I wanted to drill in it, say, into team effectiveness, which is what I was trying to get into earlier, let this go ahead and build out. So there are some details. Obviously, we can build this out a lot deeper if we wanted to, but we don't have to. So I'm going to hit cancel here, and I'm going to go back just to save some time. So if I want to go and say top talent retention, this will allow you to drill in. So it'll tell you the details off the top that you may be interested in. But if you wanted to go into data visualization to say, okay, well, I think I have some more details around why our retention for our 9 boxes is not quite up to snuff, you have that ability as well. So let me go over here to home, because from our home, we can see everything. And just like with the Oracle Analytics Cloud, you know, all the different pieces behind the puzzle are all located here. So if you wanted to go ahead and build out some items in addition to the pre-built content, you have that option. So if I want to take a look at HR payroll, for example, and look at this. So now I have things built out, but I also have pieces on the left-hand side. And what these are all the different data sources built out by this. So we can see the variance by month where attrition analysis is trending down. There's something that happened in August, you know, what happened there. We're looking at salaries and wages. So it looks like maybe overtime could be an issue where we hit really high in August. If I want to go to different tabs, I can. So here I can see attrition analysis, maybe turnover by department. Why did people leave? What are the different options? There's something called a narrative. What this is the ability to, this is just a visualization, just like a bar graph is, but we have machine learning and cart analysis being run on the back end to say, okay, where you're trending, what are the different segments of your data? What are the different trends of your data without you actually having to type anything? The system will do it for you, really removing that human bias from the process. And if I wanted to look at this maybe a little bit differently, so maybe I wanted the departments to be by trellis rows, for example, then what it can do is I'll have the same visualization, but instead of having different colors, I have each department laid out on its own. So you can see here, these don't have a full list. There's just one or two, not a continual. We can see here, call center services has a continual turnover, so they may have some problems. So if I wanted to add anything here, so if I come down here to the levers distribution, how are they laid out? So maybe I want to look at, see, we have salary and for age. Maybe I want to go ahead and the voluntary, well, that won't make sense, but we'll come here and say, actually, come on. So if I wanted the salary to be in the color versus department, I could do that if I wanted to. Clearly, we have the employee IDs, but maybe if I wanted to look at, I didn't want to look at it. So I'm going to change the department for the different points, and so we should have fewer. But we can see here that each department. So it looks like for levers distribution, there's going to be more in the call center services, which is consistent with what we were seeing before. But then if you look at the age and for dev and support, they're very low. So, does that have something to do with salary or, how do these things work out? So you can always drill in and do a little bit more. So I'm going to go back here. Nope, I don't want to save. So again, you have all these same data sources available to you in the pre-configured content that you can also go ahead and drill in deeper if you would like to on um, on the self-service side, on the data visualization side. But if you wanted to build out a dashboard as well, so maybe this is something you want to send to the executives, maybe don't necessarily care about the individual KPIs that you are looking at, but maybe they want a dashboard that has a whole bunch of different data in there, they can build out a dashboard as well. So it looks like that's a little bit missing. But that is the Fusion Analytics warehouse. And again, it's named that because it's a warehouse built specifically for Fusion applications and includes the data underneath as well and data models so that you can access everything you need in an analytics purposely built warehouse to get you from going from building the reports on your own and trying to figure out historical and trending and all that into a system where it's pre-built for you and you get to the answers much, much faster. So we do have programs that if you're looking to implement this, where we can come in and implement that for you. And I believe some partners are getting up and running on that as well. If you would like to see a demo of this, maybe a little bit deeper dive or an option where you could ask questions on the fly, happy to do that. Just ask that you reach out to your cloud platform representative, either that or your apps representative, and we'd be happy to get you set up. It's a really, really cool tool. We're getting really, really great feedback. And to be honest with you, it's fun for us as well when you get to show new things. So there's always more coming. Like I said, this HCM and ERP are already out, and then supply chain management and customer experience should be coming out before too terribly long. So happy to dig in a little bit more. Just reach out to your Oracle rep. Thank you. Have a great day.